Good morning, everybody. For the record, I'm Sheriff Nienhuis. It's spelled Nienhuis. I'm the Sheriff of Hernando County. And thank you all for coming. Obviously, this is a very serious subject we have to talk about today. And to give you a little background, about a week ago, October 3rd, as a matter of fact, on Friday, local authorities received some information that a Springstead High School teacher and a student may be involved in inappropriate sexual relationship. The teacher was Mr. Todd Toomer. He's 40 years old, and he's the graphic design teacher at Springstead High School. Initially, both the suspect and the victim were interviewed, and both denied the allegations. Over the next few days, though, my detectives worked very hard and found some information that led them to believe, because obviously their goal was to either prove the allegations or find that they were totally unfounded. And during the investigation, they did find some information that led them to believe that there might be some legitimacy to the original allegations. About that same time, I guess it was about midweek last week, the victim came forward and verified that there was an inappropriate relationship between her and Mr. Toomer. As the investigation continued, and with the victim's help, we even got additional information that led us to believe that the allegations, unfortunately, were true. And last night, Mr. Toomer agreed to come in to the sheriff's office and be interviewed. And during that interview, he admitted to the inappropriate relationship. And working very, very closely with Brad King and the state attorney's office, and the attorneys there, we ended up arresting Mr. Toomer late last night or early this morning on three counts of sexual battery on a person between 12 and 18 years of age by someone with custodial authority, in this case, a teacher. The bond is $10,000 on each count for a total of $30,000, and all three counts are first-degree felonies, punishable by up to 30 years in prison. A little tiny bit, I do have the public information officer from the school system here, Mr. Eric Williams, who will be talking to you in a little bit, but Mr. Toomer has been associated with the school system since 1997 as a substitute teacher, I'm told, and he went full-time in 1999. Our teachers have authority over some of our most vulnerable citizens, namely our children. And with that authority comes an awful lot of responsibility to do the right thing. And when they violate that responsibility, and as the father of three daughters, we have to hold those people accountable, and we have to ensure justice is served. And I got to tell you, my detectives worked very tirelessly over the last week to bring this to a successful conclusion. And of course, unfortunately, the work is not over. And I'll get into that in a minute. But I also want to say that the school system has been more than cooperative, and I have talked with officials there, including the superintendent, and everybody is appalled at this. And we have no other information at this time that any other adult was involved or that any other adult had knowledge of what was going on, and that includes the other employees at the school. The victim in this case, this young lady is very courageous. It had to take a lot for her to come forward and admit what happened. Unfortunately, we have good reason to believe that there are additional victims out there. And I would like to ask them if they would have the same courage as this victim and come forward, either to the sheriff's office or to the school system, so we can continue our investigation and make sure that this particular individual receives justice, both the victims and society. And one of the biggest reasons I want to do this is not just to make sure the victims get justice, but I want to make sure that anybody who is contemplating becoming a predator on our young people understands that they are probably going to spend the rest of their life in jail. And the state legislature, ironically enough, finds this to be very serious, and as of October 1st, they changed this from a first-degree felony to a life felony. We believe that these actions occurred before October 1st, but as far as parents, I want to send a message to parents. It's critical that you maintain and understand the whereabouts of your children and monitor their electronic messages so that you can make sure that they're not involved in something similar. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Department of Children and Families and the State's Attorney's Office, the Hernando County School System, and last and certainly not least, my detectives. They did an outstanding job, and everybody worked very, very well in a very short period of time to bring this to conclusion. Now, again, I have 3 daughters, and I can't even begin